A month after I closed the Derek Vance case, I got a new call. A missing hiker's wife found his camera in the closet. Her husband had told her he lost it in the mountains, but there it was, sitting in his backpack. She turned it on. What she found changed everything. The first 10 days showed a normal man, happy, smiling, talking about the beauty of the mountains. On day 12, he found an empty camp. The fire was still warm, food sat on the table, but no one was there. On day 15, his voice went flat. He said he was hearing echoes, voices from the trees, the rocks, the ground. By day 20, he stopped speaking entirely. He just walked with an empty face. The camera captured all of it. On day 30, he walked out of the forest. The camera recorded him approaching a car where his wife and daughter were waiting. They hugged him, got in, and drove away. The camera stayed on the ground. But minutes later, another man stepped out of the trees. Same clothes, same face. He picked up the camera and looked straight into the lens. He said he almost made it out, but someone had taken his place, wearing his face, driving home with his family. I watched that video over and over, and my blood ran cold. I recognized that mountain. It was the same cave where I'd found Mark's journal. The silence was hunting again. I took the video and drove to the station. I ran the man's name, Nathan. He'd been missing for 3 weeks, but he was already back home. His wife confirmed he was sitting in the living room, watching TV, eating normally. But when I asked if she'd noticed anything strange, she said he smelled wrong. My heart started pounding. I drove to his house. Nathan was sitting in an armchair, staring at the wall. When I walked in, he turned his head and smiled. He said, "You came to see the monster, detective?" But his eyes weren't empty. They were full of fear. He knew he wasn't real. I pulled out the camera and showed him the footage. He watched it for a long time, then started crying. He said he remembered the moment, walking out of the forest, getting in the car, driving home. But he didn't remember the drive. He just woke up here. And he remembered watching himself from the camera. Watching himself walk right behind him. I asked who he really was. He looked at me and said he was the one who said yes. In the cave, he heard a voice that promised he'd go home if he left something behind. He left his fear. But the voice took more. It took his essence. What came back was just a shell. The real him was still in the forest, trying to find his way out. I decided to go back to that mountain. I packed Nathan's camera, a GPS tracker, and my gun. I wanted to find his real self. But before I could leave, the hospital called. Derek's daughter, the one who called herself the Silence, had woken up from her coma. She asked to pass along a message, "Don't go there." He already got out. I froze. I asked who got out. The nurse said the girl just smiled and kept repeating, "The one who was left behind found the way." I looked at Nathan's camera again. On the final frame, where the doppelganger picks up the lens, I noticed something I'd missed before. In the background, standing between the trees, was another figure. Small. A child. With long red hair. Staring straight into the camera. I zoomed in. It wasn't Derek's daughter. It was Nathan's daughter. But she was at home with her mother. I called Nathan's wife and asked where their daughter was. She said the girl was at school. I asked her to send a photo. She did. The photo showed a smiling kid with a backpack. But on the video, in the forest, stood an identical little girl. My head started spinning. The Silence doesn't just take bodies. It copies them. It creates duplicates that walk out into the world while the originals wander the mountains. The real Nathan was still in the woods. The real daughter was still in the woods. And the copies were sitting at home, waiting for their next command. I lowered my phone. And then I heard it. Breathing. Right outside my door. I opened it. A man stood there, soaked, filthy, with hollow eyes. He was holding a camera. Exactly the same one I had. He looked at me and whispered that he had made it out, but now he didn't know who he was. He thought he was Nathan, but he saw himself at home, saw his family hugging someone else. That's when he realized he wasn't the one who left. He was the one who was left behind. He came to me because I was the only one who could tell the original from the copy. He lifted his head. And I saw his eyes. They weren't empty. They were mine. I was looking in a mirror. It wasn't Nathan. It was me. But I was standing in the doorway. I was standing there, staring at myself. And that's when I remembered. I never actually came back from that cave. I'm still in there. The one standing in front of me, he's the real one. And he smiled. He said, "Hello, detective." I got out. You stayed.